episode of The Mandalorian dropped this week, and it was insane. So as we always do, we're gonna just give our quick thoughts, and then we'll get into spoilers. So we'll warn you guys when we get into spoilers. For the clip version of this on video, I'm gonna try to I'll put like something in the description or maybe even in the caption that says when the spoilers start. But anyway, so just our general thoughts on the episode. Mo, what were your general thoughts on this week's episode of The Mandalorian? Episode 6 of Season 2. Chapter 14, I think?
Yeah, I believe it was Chapter 14.
The tragedy.
And it was a tragedy. I really didn't think much going into this episode. I really just thought it was going to be a filler episode like they have, especially with Chapter 2, or not Chapter 2, but Episode 2 of this season. They've tended to follow the same trend that we have discussed of just what's the next quest, and then at the very end of it, we'll find out how that connects to the main storyline. But this episode, and I'm gonna say it flat out right now, it is my favorite episode, and that's saying a lot, especially because I've loved, especially the last episode before then. I think it's continually just getting better and better, and the stakes have definitely risen. Like it was at a mid level, but then it just like it went out of the roof. Like it was ridiculous.
Are you saying it's your favorite episode of the entire show?
Out of the whole show.
Wow.
And
it honestly might be mine too. It's up there with the last few episodes of the first season.
It runs at 33 minutes, but if you really cut down the credits and the preview like of what happened before, you're really at like 20, 28, 29 minutes. So it's really not that long, but it really the time doesn't really matter because they hit you every single time. You're not sitting there looking at the time. They just go full action, like they take you right there, and we'll get into that in the spoilers. But overall, it just surprised me. I just did not think they surprised me left and right, and on top of that, I just did not see anything that was coming. Like it just, I thought it was going to come later in the last episode or the last 2 episodes, but just overall an amazing episode and full of surprises, and
for sure. This was one of the most epic pieces of Star Wars content I think we've gotten in a long time. I think that The Mandalorian is managing to do something that I never expected this show to do, and that is it's bringing multiple generations of fans together in a way that I don't think any of the sequel movies did. And I'm not here to bash on the sequel movies. I'm a fan of Force Awakens, and I don't hate The Last Jedi as much as Mr. across from me. But I think it's just brought people together in a way by bringing all this lore in that's really special for Star Wars fans. And us who are like really nerds about just all things Star Wars, Elisa's shaking her head. It means a lot to kind of see where it's going. So without further ado, we are going to jump into full spoilers now. You have been warned. Click off the video now and come back, or click off the podcast and come back to this section, or skip to the next section of the podcast if you're listening. So let's do this. So
first off, let me clarify.
I'll
say this in front of the camera. I do not hate The Last Jedi. I strongly dislike it. All right, let's move on. Continue.
Keep it moving. So, we're going to do a brief overview, and then as we go along, we'll get into all the plot points and how epic they were. So, episode starts off, Mando and the child, as we know now as Grogu from last week's episode. Grogu is now basically... Mando is training him with his force powers and like getting him to pull the ball and all this different stuff. And I loved that section. I kind of think that's foreshadowing that that Mando's gonna end up being the one that trains him. Again, that wasn't fully addressed in this episode, so we don't need to go there. But it was just a really great way to start it, and it just further drove that father-son bond that I love and I appreciate. And then I think, so then they fly down and they go straight to the planet of where Baby Yoda needs to go and sit at the top of the
It
mountain.
felt like Fortnite when you drop out of the
Oh, and drop out of the
float.
bus.
Yeah, you drop out of the bus and then
Yeah.
you just nosedive
So
straight down.
they
to the,
fly in,
the
and then Mando kind of comes around, and it was really funny the way he like came around the corner and was like holding him, and then he's like, "Okay, it's not big enough, the hill. I guess we're gonna." What was the funny line he said? He said, "I guess we're gonna have to fly." You know what I'm talking about? He said something really funny. It's a really catchy line.
I didn't really pick up on that.
Okay,
but I don't know what
Okay,
Mandalorian
anyway.
you were watching.
That's okay. He said a really funny line. So anyway, though, basically comes in and we just get right to it on Tython with taking him straight to the thing. He sets him on the thing, and Mando's getting kind of Mando gets kind of impatient
as he has this.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
he just doesn't know. He's
no,
like,
exactly.
Well, she said to send you here. Like, what do you like? Come on, you're supposed to do it.
Exactly.
She said that you were supposed.
But
to
then
do
eventually he goes into just this force zone with, the waves all around him. It was like a sphere almost, and he's just in this zone. So after that, you go ahead and get into it. It's just so dope. It's so dope what happens. The ship.
Yeah. Okay.
The slave
one.
Yes, going.
The ship that Boba Fett, he drove that, drove it.
Not just the ship.
The ship.
The legendary.
Exactly.
Slave One from Empire Strikes Back.
From Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, exactly. So you see him come in that ship, and again, if you've seen the originals and you know Jango and you know Boba, you know this ship, and it's nostalgic for you.
Oh,
and when I saw that ship, it was like I knew from the jump who it was, but like it really like it hit perfectly, especially with the situation and where everything was going. And you already saw from episode 1 from the second season, you already noticed that he showed up and he noticed that his armor was taken by Mando from I forget what the guy's name was in the first episode, but that guy had found it with some Jawas that had picking up the So you find him, and you just didn't know where he was going to be at with the rest of the season. He kind of disappeared, and they do that with a lot with the Mandalorian series. Like
they foreshadow something.
They foreshadow
never
tons
really
of
come
stuff,
back to it.
and then it just kind of shows up whenever they like you just never expect anything. So he finally shows up in this episode, and it just worked perfectly when he was like placed in this episode because he came in, he finally was here with his armor, and you could see he had what was the staff, like all that was from Tatooine. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All that was from Tatooine, and you can tell, which we'll get into this in just a second, that he's mastered using everything that he has from Tatooine.
He's a master of combat.
He's a master of combat,
and we never really have seen him show that off.
Yeah, exactly. So he comes in. Mando is just confused. He wants to know if he's the Jedi or if he's just trying to steal the child, and he says he just wants his armor. And the whole thing is that he just wants it's a pretty easy bet, and
he said, "I'm a fair man."
He's a fair man, and he also said that in Empire. He had the same exact line of "I'm just a simple guy who's just trying to pass by or something."
I thought it was in Attack of the Clones when he said that,
or it was Attack.
It was his dad. It was Jango who said
Jango,
it.
Yeah. So he said that. So, but that was really cool. That was a really good throwback. But
definitely.
So they come to that agreement there, and the whole plan is that he would give him his armor, and then Boba and the girl's name.
Drawing a blank.
She owes
the sharpshooter.
Yeah, she owes Boba. She's in debt to him because he saved her life, and so they're both working together, and they are owing the child, which is Grogu's debt for the armor, for getting the armor back.
Right. They said we'll protect the child, and so basically, as things go on, the Empire comes in. Moff Gideon is sending his troops in, and you're like, oh shoot, it's about to get crazy. It was like a 10-minute straight action scene. It was just awesome, and Boba, and the sharpshooter and Mando really just going ham on these guys.
How many times did it take for Mando to run into the shield to realize that this is just not going to work?
Oh yeah, and then Mando keeps running into the shield
to
try and get the
child. He ran into it 3 times,
and the Force just pulls
and
it just
shocked him.
Back.
It pushed him right back out. But
so anyway, so they're just going ham on all these troopers. It was just absolutely awesome. I felt like I was watching like John Wick or something. Some of the moves that Boba Fett did were just like fantastic. I mean, it was just this awesome combat, and the choreography of the fighting, it was just awesome. It was so dope to take in. And then when he cracks the dude's skull.
Yeah, when he was dragging the staff/club around, and you could just see it, the camera just pans on him just like scrape. It literally was like a slasher movie almost.
Yeah,
it felt like a slasher movie. He was just like dragging it across, and then if a stormtrooper moved, if he was already like severely damaged, if the stormtrooper moved, that's enough for Boba just to go ham and just destroy the heck out of you. He just got crazy, that and just broke off like 5 to 6 stormtrooper helmets.
Yeah, that was
like
fantastic.
I haven't really seen stormtrooper helmets like break like that.
Yeah.
But then he ends up beating off some of those guys, and then he looks over in the ship where he sees his armor, where he sees his suit, and he's like, you can tell it's implied that like he's going to get it.
Yeah.
So he goes, but you don't see any of that.
No.
And you see the girl, she's getting pushed back in her corner or whatever, and then Mando comes down finally to help out a little bit.
Right, but they're both kind of struggling.
Yeah, they're both kind of struggling.
And it's
just like the
perfect timing.
It's just like the Thor coming in for Avengers Infinity War, or everyone coming back for Endgame. It's just
awesome.
like that kind of reveal.
You just
in a
see
way.
Boba fly up with his armor and just go crazy, knocks out like the rest of the fleet of stormtroopers and saves the day. It was awesome.
He used everything.
So then you're like, oh yay, they won, and they're like all excited. We're like, okay, we're gonna see where we go. Then all of a sudden, these beams or these things, why am I drawing a blank on? These beams basically just come flying out of the sky, and he goes up there. Boba flies up there. And it's a freaking Imperial ship, and it's Moff Gideon in his ship shooting it down. And then all of a sudden, the reveal of the freaking Dark Troopers happens. They fly down, get Grogu pretty easily because Mando forgot his jetpack, and he was just slow on his feet. The Dark Troopers come in, get him super easily, take him back up to Moff Gideon. Obviously, Boba tracks him down, but then when Boba realizes it's an Imperial ship, he's like, I'm not risking that.
Yeah.
And I don't think Bubba even knew the Empire was still out there, because a lot of people think the Empire is done and they were defeated on Endor. But
you could tell he was nervous when he got up there. He was like, they're back, and he was nervous because he saw the Imperial ship.
He got scared. So anyway, we lost Grogu, and the moment that happens, you're just like, what? No, like everyone's just freaking out. It was. I saw some things like comments on YouTube, people saying like I was crying, I mean, I wasn't crying, but it was sad. It was so sad. It was like, dang, that really sucks. So basically, then they decide, well, we got to team up, and then so they end up and they go meet Cara Dune. We read a brief cameo of her with her. She's wearing the Resistance thing, so she's like clearly going to be the Marshal and then join the future of the Resistance, which is really dope. But that was quick, so I don't really want to talk too much about that. But then we cut to Moff Gideon back on his ship and the stormtroopers, and he opens up the door where baby Yoda was supposed to be in the little jail cell or whatever, and baby Yoda's just forcing the heck out of these stormtroopers, like just going crazy. And when I was watching it, I thought it was like pretty funny, and I was having a good time with it. But then when I kind of heard some things after the episode, a lot of people were like, that was him showing his dark tendencies, which I just didn't think of it when I was watching it. He force choked
both of them, but they did have a resemblance of Luke Skywalker when he force choked 2 of the guards in Episode 6.
Yeah.
So like that could be true, but I also I don't know.
Yeah,
I wouldn't really call it his dark side.
I think it was just him getting pissed off because he wasn't with Mando.
But
anyway, then Moff Gideon shows him the little dark saber, whatever, and they make the call to the scientist guy, and they say we're on the way, and then the episode ends. So it was a wild episode. So much happening, so much going on.
in under 30 minutes.
In under 30 minutes,
And
which is
the last thing I wanted to touch on.
yeah. And then
way
we'll give
it
our
sped-
final score
Yeah,
and
the way it
thoughts.
sped up, especially the part with Cara Dune, like you get there and she's already part of the resistance, and like you just didn't see this type of pace throughout the rest of the series.
The rest of the series has been really slow.
It's been really
paced.
slow. There probably would have been 2 episodes just dedicated on how she joined the resistance. But no, you just get in, she's a part of the resistance, and then he's trying to break out, and I think that's what they're going to do in the next episode. I think that
Yes, Bill Burr's
Bill
character. I
Burr-
didn't mention that. He
yeah,
shows
Bill Burr's
up on
character,
the little thing.
and again, he was in season 1, but that'll be really cool too. But just the fact that everything was just moving so fast, but like they stuck with the main storyline throughout the whole episode, and that's
Yeah.
what I liked from this.
Definitely.
Like they didn't have the special word, but
first. Yeah.
first.
There's no but first in this
There's no
episode.
but first
It was
in
just
this. It just was straight
boom,
to the
boom,
point.
boom.
Straight to the point. Like this happened, and especially with now 2 episodes left, you have a clear cut plot, like what's going to happen, and
Yeah.
that's what I
was-
love about it.
It was fantastic. Everything going on in the episode, I just loved. You know what? I think I'm close to. I'm not gonna say it yet, but I'm close to saying it's my favorite episode as well of the entire series. It was really that great. My overall score, I have to give this a 10 out of 10. Like in a genuine sense, you know. I'm not a person who, whenever I rate stuff, especially on this podcast, I try to be like realistic. But I think that's realistic for me. Like it's 10 out of 10. Incredible episode of The Mandalorian. What are you scoring it?
I'd give it a 10 out of 10 too, especially for my raw reaction from it.
Yeah.
I know after watching some other videos and watching through it again, there are like a couple minor things.
Yeah.
But like with the experience that I had throughout the episode, it just can't.
Great.
It tops everything else. And
Yeah.
like if you think about it, the whole thing about his jetpack, it knocks it down a little bit because like if he just would have picked up his jetpack and flown up there, he would have gotten Grogu plenty of time before the clones came down. But
The Dark Troopers.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I can kind of understand thinking about it that he wasn't thinking, things were happening so fast that he wasn't even thinking about his jetpack. He was just thinking about Grogu, and he was just going for it. So like a minor knocks, but like not enough to really take it down. Everything else was great.
Definitely.
Absolutely great. So
Yeah. So definitely recommend this episode to anybody. It was fantastic. So moving right along,